episode of those smack-talking guys. Full of opinions on games, music, culture, and current events. These guys cover it all while humiliating each other. This is Generation Flip. Don't forget, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. And now, crapping it up, here's your hosts.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Generation Flip Podcast. We have a very, very good and educational show today. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, Big Brown. What up, Big Brown? What's going down, brother?
What is going on, everybody? Hey, man, I'm excited, man. We got a lot of things cooking. You got a lot of things going on in the world today, man. You know, Flip's excited about his Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about that, but we got the president calling me. I'll get back to him later. We just got a lot of things going on in the world, man. This world is changing in a fat. Roe versus Wade got overturned, blowing my mind. You know, I'm not one to watch TV. I've taken it out of my daily routine, along with sugar and a few other things that I didn't take it all out, but I took the majority of the sugar out. But as far as the daily routine, with everything going on with COVID, the war, gasoline, food prices, things like that are just, it's not making it a good place, man. Global warming, they're calling it a fake. It's not. It's really happening. But, I guess we all have our own opinions. We all have our own minds. We have to think about it, and I need to revert back to my old self. And because I think it made me
not
feel
just
better.
You, myself too.
Yeah.
Myself.
And what I used to do is my old saying was, I only worry about who signs my check and who I go to bed with, right? So the cool thing is I'm in control of both of those. I'm single and I own my own company. So I'm doing all right. So I'm cutting everything else out, man. I'm just tired of hearing all the malarkey out there in the world.
We do have for you guys a very educational and inspirational, I guess you can call it.
It should be something of a motivational,
right?
Because for me, it's near and dear to me because I'm 54. We joked around. We had a show. We were talking about our weight. And you know what? I want to live to be a freaking 100 years old, man. It sounds stupid, but I want to see change in my life. And it's like, Michael Jackson, you got to start with the man in the mirror. And that's me, baby. I'm looking at that man in the mirror.
That's right. That's right.
But this show I'm excited about because I'm really going to take a step forward. And I'm going to, I've been listening. We did our research on this gentleman. This gentleman, he is a lead scientific researcher at Fellow One Research. He's changing the game. And what drives me nuts is the things that he's doing. It should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we have a tendency to follow these trends and stick with them.
I got a little clip from him. Interesting person. MARC NELSON is his name. And let me play a little clip here from MARC NELSON.
Hello all, Gnosis here. Like diagnosis or prognosis. Since 2003, as a scientist, I have pioneered body type science. These are the 3 scientific body type standards. Every human being is born into a standard scientific human body anatomy book, Body Type 1, according to mainstream scientists and medical doctors. Unless, of course, you have been diagnosed otherwise by a licensed medical doctor, but even then, you're still a Body Type 1. Standard number 2, Body Mass Index, BMI. Standard number 3, Basal Metabolic Rate, BMR. Those are the 3 scientific standards that mainstream science and medical doctors accept. The only 3 standards and the only body type that mainstream scientists and medical doctors accept is the standard scientific human body anatomy book, Body Type 1, found in any scientifically accepted scientific anatomy book.
So, there you have it. We're talking about a different strategy or different way to look at weight loss, and weight gain possibly, because there are different body structures out there, you know what I mean? And some are very thin and fragile, and we're talking about a little bit of everything. And for you today, my boy, we just met very interesting person. And, I want to welcome Mark Nelson to our show. Mark, how's it going, Mark? Welcome to Generation Flip. Thank you for coming out and, enlightening everybody, our audience, letting them know, what these factors are, what can help our audience, open up their mind to this, because everybody's taught differently how to lose weight. They go on weight loss stuff, and some of it doesn't even work. Half the stuff doesn't even work for people. So, I wanna go ahead and start. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am the lead scientific researcher at Cell One Research. I've been doing this body type science research now since 2003. It really started way back when I was around 8. I noticed that my body was different.
And his name is John C. I've got balls of steel. Hell yeah!
And that was really the inspiration to do the actual research. So I'm happy to talk more about that if you'd like, but also to pause here and see.
Tell us. Because I think last time we talked, you talked about skinny fat, right? You talked about a lot of these things that were very, very interesting, and I'm just fat. I ain't skinny fat. So go into it and tell us your story and tell us what, how you felt and what made you push you into that direction. Because you know what? This is an inspirational story because it's a game changer. And it really is. So please go on and tell us how it came about.
So when I was around 8 years old, I was actually a star soccer player on a state championship soccer team. But I began noticing out during shirts off practice, and when I was down at the local pool and anywhere it's appropriate to see someone with their shirt off, no less, I began noticing that my body was very different. And when I would go and look at the standard scientific human body anatomy book image, it showed this body that had all the muscle and muscle mass fully developed. And I would look at my body, and my body most certainly did not look like that standard. And when I would ask my parents, because obesity is common in the family, they didn't give it a second thought. And when we would go and see the doctor, because I was such an active kid, I was always within my safe BMI weight range, body mass index. And so I was normal. And the doctors didn't give it a second thought because that's all they cared about was body mass index. And when I would show them all the skinny fat on my body, where there should be muscle and muscle mass, when I was 8, they simply told me that I was young, it'll grow, don't worry about it. When I hit 10 and 12, and more fat grew, and 14 and 16, and more fat grew, and where there should be muscle and muscle mass, there was only fat. And at the time, again, I was well within my safe BMI weight range, so how can you really call it fat? So it's why we now have this term called skinny fat. It's when you're skinny, but you still have fat all over your body where you should have muscle and muscle mass. And that term's only been around now for about a decade or so. And there are different forms of skinny fat. There's cellulite and thin fat and loose skin and saggy skin and crepey skin and normal weight obesity. I dealt with normal weight obesity, which included cellulite and thin fat, but pretty much all over my body.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I didn't even know there was such of a thing called skinny fat. Never knew that.
It's new. I mean, all things relative, it's been around for about a decade. But yeah, it's new. So when I was growing up, that term didn't exist. It wasn't something that was recognized as being real. So it took 30 years for that term to actually be recognized in some scientific way, and it's still not fully recognized. A lot of doctors don't know what it is because a lot of doctors still function solely by the idea that if you're obese, you're simply lazy. You're simply not working hard. And they don't give nearly enough credit to genetics, that everybody is different and that genetics play a key role in body type and your body composition, how much skinny fat that you have on your body, how early in life you have that skinny fat on your body. And skinny fat directly equates to increased tendencies to put on fat weight in that area of your body. So there's a lot of downsides of skinny fat relative to muscle and muscle mass, but we're just now, in terms of scientists and medical doctors, we're just now starting to recognize that there's a lot of truth there that needs to be looked at. We've been looking at it since 2003, but it's taken all this time to really bring it to light as you all are showing now. So thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Welcome. I have a little chart I got from you. I'm going to pop it up here on screen. I don't know if you can see it on your monitor there, but this is basically the 4 body types that you're obviously talking about. Can you explain this chart here?
Yeah. So, and there's actually a better image. If you go up on the website of fellow1.com, there's a frequently asked question, and it goes hand in hand with this image, but that one is actually 4 real life body types that some real human being took. And we have the evidence that we have the body type 1, we have the body type 2, we have the body type 3, and we have the body type 4. And so these images actually were done several years ago when we were trying to explain what are the 4 body types. Now we have the evidence that we were right, that this is, in terms of looking at these images, how we've broken it down is relative to the spine, and it is a genetic scientific fact that any part of the human body can be underdeveloped. That includes muscle and muscle mass. It's also a genetic scientific fact that every vertebra houses a specific set of muscles.
Wow.
If any of those muscles are underdeveloped to whatever degree, that means that it can affect posture and it can affect metabolism, no less. Why does it affect metabolism? Well, because if you have skinny fat in place of where you should have muscle, science recognizes that 1 pound of muscle mass burns 6 calories daily, but 1 pound of skinny fat and fat only burns 2 to 3 calories. So if you have skinny fat on your body where you should have muscle mass, then you have a slower metabolism. You don't need as many calories daily, likely, as your standard BMR is telling you. If you go into your Apple Health app and you do your weight through a Bluetooth and everything is there in the app, it will tell you what your BMR is and what your BMI. And likely those numbers are not accurate because they don't take into account skin fat. So is that making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, this is, like I said, it's a game changer because, I think we talked about it before. We were kind of just behind the scenes talking about a lot of things that, they still use the height weight ratio determining obesity.
That's right.
And it's not accurate. And I was talking to my son about that, and and we used. I think when we were talking, we used a good point. I mean, look at the Rock Johnson. The Rock. That guy's like 6'5", 6'4", 260 pounds with maybe 2% body fat. But if you go to the chart, the guy's obese.
Yeah.
Right. He's either overweight or obese. And that's just not true.
It just doesn't work. And like I was saying before when we were talking, I remember looking at that chart going, man, as a young man in my early 20s, I was always stocky and big, but I wasn't fat. But it said that I was obese.
Yeah.
And I could never understand it. I go, man, this is a crock, man. There's no way I'm obese, But that chart back then, 25, 30 years ago, probably from the beginning, has never evolved and changed to the body mass index and everything else that's out there today. And I'm still shocked that it still hasn't been adjusted. That's why I love this show. That's why I was really excited about the show, because it's going to help me understand a lot. Because I just started fasting, 12-hour fast. I was doing 16-hour, but I went to 12, and I dropped 13, 14 pounds like that just by doing that little, that fasting, and it made me feel good. But I also it helped me learn not to, my sugar intake was just through the roof.
And with me, it's like, I like sugar. You know what I mean? I haven't got tested for diabetes just yet. I'm probably borderline diabetic. But and I start buying 2% milk. I start buying 0 sugar in juices that I buy. So I kind of like start to watch what I'm drinking in the ingredients. So
How much salt do you think that you do daily?
Maybe a dinner, some chicken, salt season. You know, um, I'm not really a heavy meat eater. You know, red red beef. You know, I'll eat it once in a while, but I'm more of a chicken and fish now. Um, but again, I like my sweets. I like my milk. I like my cereal. I eat a lot of cereal. I used to eat a lot of Pop Tarts. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I eat a lot. I like to snack during the day. I like to grab a box. I can go through a box of Pop Tarts like that. You know what I mean? Like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I need for the day. You know what I'm saying? I know it's unhealthy, but I'm telling you the truth. You know, my fat
listen,
ass needs that.
hey, but you know what it is? Research will help you. Education helps you. And I'll tell you why. Because if you do the research flip, sugar is in everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Even in
You eat
milk.
bread, it turns into sugar.
Right.
You drink milk, it turns into sugar. You know, juices have just as much sugar as a can of Coke. And I don't care if you add it. I'm telling you, you got to do the research. And that's what I've been learning. I remember I'd buy apple juice. Oh, it's organic. It's all natural. And it'd probably be 9 o'clock at night and it'd be a nice cold bottle and I'll just slam half of it. I didn't realize I was just pouring sugar down my throat.
Oh yeah, I've been there too.
You
Yeah.
know, I didn't realize that. And that's why I say education will make you think different.
And here's the thing, Brown. Here's the thing. When I came across your channel, by the way, guys, if you like the like what you see, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. When I went to your channel, I watched the whole thing. I watched about 40 minutes of it, and it kind of breaks it down. You break it, and I love it. You break it down to BMI, BMR, I believe, and if someone really takes the time out and kind of calculates what intake you really need to take, you start to realize and start to lose weight if you think about it. You know what I mean? But you have to put your homework in.
You would be a really good candidate for our scientific weight loss diary because the idea of it is to hold yourself accountable. You have all the
Right.
evidence right there in front of you. You see it in your diary. You can watch the actual data change. And that's really the idea of that. And we're not in competition with My Calorie King, or excuse me, MyFitnessPal or Calorie King or the Apple Health app. All those work great with our diary. The idea of the diary is to hold yourself accountable so you can see
Right.
your real scientific data. So, it's there. It's evidence that you've actually done it and what you've done.
Yeah. I'm excited about that because, like I said, the more and more I look into it, the more and more I understand it, the more and more I know how much. And we talked also, Mark. There's no rocket science to this shit, man. It's not a keto. It's not this. It's good in, good out, right? It's good in, good out.
And that's really it. So the old model was calorie in, calorie out because
Right.
a calorie was a calorie, and it didn't matter what you ate so long as you ate enough calories. Now we know that that's not true. It's not true at all. That a calorie is not a calorie. That some calories are better than other calories because they have more nutrition, and just in general they have a lower glycemic index, which does actually play into carbs. And there's actually quite a bit of scientific evidence that a low carb diet does work when done correctly. But you do have to count the actual carbs. You have to be accurate with that. So what the science says is that it's really a bullseye of 37 grams of carbohydrates. Now, technically, that would you could label that a keto diet as well because the carbs are so low. But the main difference with a keto and a low carb diet is a low carb diet you can do really high protein and keep the fat to safe levels of high quality fat like olive oil, flax oil, and such. But you do lower quantities of fat and more quantities of protein on a real low carb diet, whereas a keto diet, you're pushing more fat into your diet to help push you into the ketosis zone, yada, yada. So a low carb diet and a keto diet are relatively the same, but they are different.
What made me realize and understand, because like I told Mark earlier, my routine for the last 15 years, every morning I would wake up, I'd pour me 2 large cups of coffee. My first cup of coffee had 2 or 3 to 4 scoops of Nestle's Quick, a shot of milk, stir it up and drink it. I'd slam it every day, 2 of them. I'd have a nice big breakfast. I'd have 2 eggs, a hot link, toast, no potatoes. Not like it made a difference. I was eating junk. I was stuffing myself. Lunch, I'd have a big lunch, and I always had to have a dessert after lunch, and then I'd have a big dinner, and I was that way for an easy 30 years of my life. That's what I did.
And don't forget the taqueria.
Yeah, well, that was in between, right? That was in between. And what made me want to make this change, obviously I felt like shit, but what really, I was on YouTube watching about fasting, and you see all these push-ups and exercise and da-da-da-da-da. And this one guy broke it down, and he says, okay, this is how I see it. And Mark, you let me know if this makes sense, Mark. But the way he said it was, it says, okay, let's say your stomach's a refrigerator. And in the morning you wake up and you shove a whole bunch of groceries in there, right? And then 4 hours later, 5 hours later, you open that refrigerator and you shove another bunch of groceries in there, right? And then you wait another 4 or 5 hours and then you shove another batch of groceries in there. And what happens is that first batch that you shoved in, it didn't get processed. And what does it do? It sits in your gut. And you do this every day. And what happens is you're going to build up of rotten groceries in your gut. And that's the bacteria. That's where the sickness comes in. That's where the obesity comes in. And that's where the weight gain comes in. And that's where the fatigue sets in, is because you keep shoving things into your body and that it's not digesting and passing through and taking what it needs. Just keep shoving things in there. You know?
The quality of the food that you're eating matters. So
exactly.
That analogy works if we're talking about fast junk and processed food, lower quality food,
right?
In terms of the groceries that we're shoving in, yada yada.
Right. But the fasting, he said. But the fasting, if you fast for 12 to 16 hours, that allows your body to go through what's in there and push out.
It does, but if you're eating healthy food, then you don't have to actually worry about it to be beginning, because if you're eating healthy food that has plenty of fiber in it, right, and you're keeping your gut healthy, which includes your gut bacteria,
right,
and that's all healthy, then you won't have any issues with digestion, especially if you're keeping your sugar content very low, under 7 tablespoons per day or less. Less is recommended. So, but these are hard things to achieve in the current American lifestyle and diet, because everything. I was on a show a few weeks ago, and it was a fitness pro, and he was talking about how he had a guest on prior to me who was an expert in the food industry and the chemicals that they put in most food, so that even if you're full, they have added chemicals to it that makes you not feel full, even though you're full, so you'll buy more food.
Damn Chinese food.
Right? So, but there are no laws against any of this, and because the lobbyists up on Capitol Hill are so powerful, there never will be until we change the way that we do things, because it should be about our health first, not about protecting companies and their profit interests so that they can put a bunch of unnatural crap in our food and basically get people addicted to food. How is that any different than drugging somebody with any other illegal drug? It's a type of drug. So if we look at the definition of a drug, it's basically something that affects the nervous system and behavior and leads to some form of addiction. That's a drug. And so somehow magically, if we can do this to our food, or there are a small group of people who can do this to their food, right? And they make crazy money off of it, yet it's illegal pretty much anywhere else, because we know that drugs are addictive. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I'll tell you,
I remember watching Vice. It's a show that's on HBO, Vice, and they were saying it was something to do with the effect of obesity and sugar. That sugar is more effective than crack cocaine.
Oh God,
it's more addictive by a mile. Sugar,
it is.
and it kills more people.
Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you this. Flip has no problem digesting his food. I go to the bathroom
Hell
all
yeah!
day long and have no problem with going to the bathroom. So fiber, not a problem. Not a problem.
Well, you say that, but you eat junk, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You got to stop, man. You got to
So,
educate yourself on
I
high
will.
protein.
I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn this program that he's talking about. Let's talk about a little bit about. Give me a little description. BMI. Let's start with BMI and your BMR. What they are and how we should watch these things. Explain BMI.
So the body mass index is it's been around since the 1800s. It's basically a calculation height versus weight, and we're getting that general knowledge from the standard body type 1 human body image that you find in any human body anatomy book. So all of this is it relates because we're using a specific known body type with all muscles and muscle mass fully developed as the standard, which we should. We have to have a standard. And there are body type 1s. They do exist. And it just makes sense that the human body, when fully developed, looks like this. That should be the standard because we have to have a standard. So I'm not knocking the fact that we have a standard, but that standard does not take into account skinny fat. And that's a big deal. So if you're someone like me who's dealt with normal weight obesity my entire life, when I'm well within the safe body mass index, height versus weight ratio, right, I am well within the safe range, yet I still have skinny fat all over my body, normal weight obesity.
So when you mean skinny fat, you mean like you're skinny, but it's just there?
You're still fat. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
And you can see that up on the website. I am body type quiz number 1. You can go and look at my quiz. There are shots of the skinny fat. And this is after 2.5 decades now of really hard work of figuring all this out. But anyways, that the body mass index, it does not take into account skinny fat. The BMR does not take into account skinny fat. So if you are looking at your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, the base number of calories that your body needs to function daily, if you are looking at your BMR from the standard calculated, yet you're a body type 2, 3, or 4 with at least fair amounts, if not a lot of skinny fat on your body, that matters. Skinny fat is nowhere near as efficient as muscle and muscle mass. Period. The end. In terms of sports, you're not as athletic. You usually can't run as fast. It's a very rare thing. If there's somebody who isn't a body type 1 who can run really fast, and we know that because never once in the history of the Olympics has a body type 2 or less run against somebody like Usain Bolt, let alone run against somebody like Usain Bolt and actually beat them. There's a reason for that because Usain Bolt is all muscle. Someone like me who was born in a body type 4 was lacking muscle all over my body, and that is genetics. It is a genetic variable, and when you're someone like me who is lacking all that muscle and muscle mass, it leads to a lot of hardship in life. And most people don't really realize that. So is that making sense?
Yeah. So you guys out there, there are, like he says, there are people out there that have the same situation that you're in, skinny fat. There are skinny fat, and they're considered obesity, right? Normal obesity.
Right. And normal weight obesity carries the same risks as obesity. Yet, again, especially when I was younger and I would go and see the doctor, they just didn't care. So long as I was within that safe BMI weight range, I was a body type 1, and there was no question about that whatsoever. And that's a very difficult thing to live with when you're being held to the standard of a body type 1. Somebody who has all that muscle and muscle mass, which is a very right now, our research shows that about 25% of the population is a body type 1. Of that 25%, we know that less than 1% of the entire population becomes a pro athlete. And it's a lot less than 1%. It's an elite number of human beings. And if you look at most of those human beings who make that level, most of them are a body type 1. There are some body type 2s, even fewer body type 3s, and I would say no body type 4s. So what I'm getting at is that there are people like me in the world who have skinny fat on their body who are being held to a standard of a body type 1. And we see this up on social media all the time. What we see is these filtered and photoshopped images so that you can look like a perfect body type 1. And then everyone who sees that image goes, well, that's how my body should look, so I got to go and do whatever it takes to look like that. And they
Right.
starve themselves, and they do terrible diets, and they just take on terrible choices in terms of diet, exercise, and lifestyle, which isn't healthy. When you're young, you'll probably get away with that for a time, but as you age, you're not going to get away with that. It's dangerous. And so what we're trying to actually do is bring forward the science so that you can understand why your body is the shape that it is. It's genetics. And if you understand that, then you can understand that. And instead of trying to achieve some impossible standard that you've seen up on social media, or even your doctor is trying to tell you, because again, your doctor is judging you when you go in for a physical. You're being judged by that body type 1 image, the BMI, and the BMR. And if you're not meeting those standards, then it's your fault. You're doing something wrong. Yeah, and there may be some truth in that. There are definitely folks out there who are not doing all that they can to be as healthy as possible. But then there are people like me who did. I was well within my safe BMI weight range, yet I was still skinny fat, normal weight, obese. And earlier on in my life, and even really now, because those terms, skinny fat and normal weight, obese, still are not widely accepted terms. They're just starting to actually catch on. And that's good. But when I was younger, the doctor simply didn't care about skinny fat or normal weight obesity. They only cared about being within safe BMI or outside of it. You're either safe or you're overweight or obese, and that's that. And it's more complex than that.
So your BMR, if you kind of monitor or figure out your BMR, you could possibly succeed in losing weight.
Well, that's the idea. So,
How
well,
do you do that? I mean, can you?
But,
Well,
but
so
what he's saying, Flip, is that those standards that they use the BMR and the BMI, throw them out the window.
Well, yeah,
'Cause
I get that. I know
that's what
that.
he's saying. But because if you're trying to follow that,
But no, there's a
I would
procedure, right? Go ahead.
right. I wouldn't say that we would abandon those standards. I would say that we would realize that they are currently inaccurate and they need to be upgraded. They need more data. And
right?
one of those data inputs that has to be calculated into both the BMI and the BMR is skinny fat. And there's no way to really do that without more research data, because the only way that we understand how much skinny fat is really on a body type 2 on average is by opening up a scientific laboratory, which has always been our goal, and having MRI machines and the proper setup, bring people in, run them through the machines, and calculate how much muscle and muscle mass they actually have on their body, right? But that takes money, yada, yada. And it's been a hard enough struggle just getting people to realize that body types are genetic. There are factors that make your body what it is, the shape that it is. And we know what those factors are now, but because we already have these 3 standards, body type 1, BMI, and BMR, trying to get anyone to recognize that those standards are inaccurate and they need to be enhanced has been like pulling teeth. Like most doctors and scientists are convinced we already know everything about all that. What are you talking about?
Right.
And they truly believe that. And yet we don't know everything about most of it. In fact, we don't know a whole lot if we look at things honestly from a whole point of view. We have a lot to learn about what the human body really is. And so one of those things is enhancing the BMI and BMR calculations by using skinny fat, which we know, and we need to understand how much skinny fat is on the average body type 2 person, how much skinny fat is on a body type 3 person, a body type 4. So then once we have that data, then when you go to your Apple Health app, if you're on an iPhone, you can see, oh, hey, look, I took my weight. Here's my BMI. Here's my BMR. If you have this new data in the Apple Health app, they call it lean mass or non-fat mass. What does that mean? So lean mass right now would be anything, if you're well within your safe BMI like I am, it tells me I have all this lean mass in my body, yet I still have skinny fat in my body. And skinny fat is not lean. It's like buying a steak that has a lot, or it's like buying a nice quality steak, like a filet mignon, but it's mostly fat, and saying no, that's totally fine because fat's okay. It's not. Lean is not fat. Lean means that there is not fat on the body. It's lean. And so what I'm getting at is these apps are not accurate. And if we had this data, they would then offer a new calculation, which would be an adjusted BMR. and the amount of skinny fat. But there's no way to really know that right now, because how do you know how much skinny fat you have on your body, or he has on his body, or I have on my body? You would have to have something like an MRI machine, be able to take that data and then do the actual calculations relative to the actual muscle mass on the body and figure that out that way. We
Well, I'll
don't
tell
have
you,
that.
I failed that test because I've got no skinny fat on me, baby. I got all fat.
Well, but so if you were to lose that weight, so here's the test of skinny fat. If you were to lose that weight and get down within your safe BMI weight range, according to mainstream science and medical doctors, you look just like a bi type 1. You always have, because you are a bi type 1. All you got to do is lose the weight, get down within your safe BMI weight range,
But
and you'll look
Nelson,
just like type 1. So
talking about that, it's like, okay, I remember a time. I dropped a lot of weight. I was working out. I was eating healthy. I must have dropped a good 50 pounds, and I dropped to like I want to say about 225, 230. And I felt at that point, I felt so fragile. My body, I mean, I'm saying to myself, man, I'm too skinny. Now my body's not comfortable being this skinny, you know?
when you wore that skin, you had cellulite, thin fat, wrinkles, saggy skin, loose skin, any of that?
Um, well, I did. I mean, I was working
He's
out.
got it all, boss.
No, I lost weight. I mean, I had stretch marks, of course, because I lost a lot of fat, you know. And I didn't experience at that time, about 2004. I didn't experience any saggy or anything like that. I just had stretch marks because I lost the fat. But I
And
felt
would you say that you looked identical to the bi type 1, that your stomach was a six-pack abs and it was all muscle when you were down within your safe BMI, or no?
close. I want to say close because
Hey, be honest,
no,
goddammit.
close because I reached my high school years where I was a size 38, you know, and I had dropped maybe 4 sizes, you know, and I felt good. I felt like, you know, I was thin like I was in high school, but I kind of felt my body was just felt weak, you know, and I don't know if there might be people out there
No,
that are watching this that feel the same way, that when you drop a certain amount of weight, your body, and you've been big bone all your life, you know, that's all you know, and then you drop so much weight, you start to feel, I mean, yeah, you feel good, I'm not going to take that away, but there's times where I just felt my body feels
no, I
weak.
get it.
I don't look, I look like I'm sick, you know what I mean?
You are definitely talking about symptoms of skinny fat. And here's why I know that. Because being a bi type 4, I dealt with the same thing. I felt the best I ever felt when I was pushing 300 pounds. And that means I felt outstanding in my body. And so, but I didn't like how I looked. I knew that it wasn't healthy. And that for me was more important than feeling good in my body. So I lost the weight and got down. And as I lost that weight, especially as I've gotten down to where I'm now about 160, 165 in that range, I definitely don't feel as good, even though I'm well within my safe BMI weight range. I deal with more depression and such because I have skinny fat where there should be muscle. And that matters. It matters greatly because it's sort of it's a tough variable to actually talk about, but it's what I call holding the energy. It's the ability to just live your life and hold the energy without worry or concern. And that's if you have muscle in that area of your body, especially for me, it happens in the gut area, right? If I had more muscle there, and as I built that muscle over the years, since 2003, it's gotten less and less as I have built more and more muscle. But I was missing muscle everywhere there. And so what I'm getting at is I know what it's like to be heavier and feel really good because I felt good in my body because I didn't have the actual muscle, but the fat made me feel good in my body. Just in terms of day-to-day being in my body. But when I looked at myself in the mirror, when I thought about the health risks, that all made me feel not good. So it was what I'm getting at is that I know what it's like to
Yeah.
lose weight and do that weight loss and gain thing. And because I'm missing muscle on my body, I always felt better when I had more weight. Is that making sense?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think it plays. It's a it's a psych on your mind. Uh, um, I always imagine myself. I'm kind of like Shallow Hal. You remember that movie Shallow Hal? I feel that way because sometimes I look in the mirror, I go, God, I look good. And then when it's time to take a shower and I pull my shit off, my clothes, I'm like, oh, you Shallow Hal again, dog. You don't look as good as you thought you looked. And I mean, here's the funny thing. I'm in the dating scene now, right? I'm 54. I'm an older guy. I don't look as good as I used to. But for some reason, when I have clothes on, I carry myself and my weight very well. And then when the unveiling comes off, I'm disappointed. But it's the psych. I'm telling you, it's the psych emotion that it plays on a lot of people. So my goal I'm going to do your program. I'm doing it. That's it. I'm doing it. But I want to measure that and get to 245 and see where I'm at. Because 245 put me about a 32 or 34-inch waist. Right now, I'm teetering between 38 and 40. But with the fasting, I feel so much better coming off, man. Right? I used to be able to look straight down and not see anything. And now I can look straight down and I see my boy there hanging out. I'm like, dude, that was only 13, 14 pounds. Could I imagine 30 pounds or 40 pounds? How fantastic I would feel. So that's my goal. I don't want to sit there and go, yeah, man, I just want to be skinny. I don't want to be skinny. I just want to feel good.
And that's a great mentality, a great place to be in terms of doing it, because so many people are doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Right reason. You do it because you want to be healthy.
And that's kind of how I feel. And I think those are my motivations, just to feel good, to be healthy, to be around a lot longer. And I totally looked into your stuff, and I'm telling you, people, look into this. It's something that's so important, and it's not rocket science. We've talked about it many times before, all these diets and these fads. Make it a lifestyle change and stop looking at it as a gimmick or a quick fix. It's got to be a longevity fix. And I believe in his program. I believe in what they're doing because it makes sense. Because I was skeptical for many years on all the things that were out there. And fortunately, I wasn't skeptical on all the junk I was eating. I was just eating what I wanted. And it didn't stop me. But with his programs and how they teach you, and how they measure things, and it's easy to understand. If you take the quiz and you watch the video and you just start the process and you'll start to see things change, man, that's all you can ask for, to see things change.
Talking about the creation of the online worldwide science-based health community website.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. That's pretty much what you developed, and they can go out and take a test or go there and take a
do the
test,
quiz.
do the quiz.
Yeah, so you can go and take the scientific biotype quiz. We are the only biotype science in existence, and so I think it's important to point out right now, one of the hurdles that we have had a hard time overcoming is getting people to realize that there are no other biotype standards other than the biotype 1, the BMI and the BMR, in terms of mainstream science and medical doctors. Yet, so many people that we ask now think that the endomorph, ectomorph, and mesomorph are somehow standards. They aren't standards. There's no science behind any of them. They were debunked long ago. And yet, I would say 75% of the people that we deal with truly think that those are the standards.
Now, is there a difference between the male and the female? I mean, or it's just standard for all?
If you're talking about the mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, or the hormone biotypes, or any of the other non-scientific, nonsense, arbitrary, subjective biotypes, no. Because the definition of a standard is that it applies to everyone equally, right? You have a biomass index, you have a BMR, and there are simple calculations that apply to everyone equally. You will take into account variables like if you're a male or a female, because it's a fact that males typically on average weigh more, females weigh less, yada yada. So you are taking into account known scientific variables. but in the end, you're sticking to the science. And the idea here is that we're sticking to the science, that we have the latest science, so that when you come and you take the scientific body type quiz, you use the scientific weight loss diary, we're inviting you to come to the site, and you can use a pen name. You don't have to use your real name. You can protect your identity. There are no face images in the quiz images. You can invite your friends and family for free. They can join the conversation. Once you take the quiz, you get a profile page. On that page, you can track all your scientific weight loss data. You can see your images. You can see all your scientific diet, exercise, and lifestyle data, and really watch it unfold. And it's there. And you're holding yourself accountable, and you can watch the actual change happen and get support from your friends. So,
wonderful. So make sure you guys check that out. We'll leave everything in the description for you guys to check out. Yeah. He's got his YouTube channel, and you want to throw in anything there that you want to plug anything in there? Websites or anything like could possibly reach you?
So Fellow One Research is where you can go and take the scientific quiz and use the weight loss diary. You can also catch us out on social media, all the typical ones: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, yada yada. And if you have any questions, get me down.
Yeah, good deal. I'm excited, man. I'm going to be the guinea pig. Flip, I'm the guinea pig, man. I don't know. You want to go? Let's go. If you don't, I'll share you my research, man. Because I'll tell you what,
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a
we
shot.
Gotta do this. I got to do this, man. In order to be everybody that's successful, they work out because it keeps your body going. Your mental health is strong. So there's so many benefits to it. And the funny thing is, we always neglect it, man. Let's stop neglecting it, people. Let's get out there and get to this website. Let's put him out there. I'm going to follow him on TikTok. Get out there, everybody. Let's do it.
Again, we welcome. Thank you for jumping on the show. We welcome Nelson. Nelson, I really appreciate it. Mark Nelson, go check him out. We'll leave everything in the description. Make sure you can follow him. He's on all platforms. His Instagram, everything, TikTok. Check him out.
Yep.
Check him out. And check out that website. Check out that quiz. Again, Mark Nelson, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it, man. Really
so make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you like this episode, go ahead and like and subscribe on this channel. And we will have another episode for you guys coming up. Keep on standby on that. Keep a good watch on that. You know what I mean?
And we're gonna do some progress on Mark. We're gonna have him back.
Oh, definitely.
And let's put like 3 or 4 months under my belt and see how I'm doing. I want
you to be the guinea pig, brother. I want you to be the guinea pig. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by and checking us out. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe and like. Until then, we will see you in the next one, guys. Thanks again.
Deuces.